Ezekiel Emanuel was one of the architects of the Affordable Care Act, or Obamacare. He presumes to be interested in preserving life, which is why it seemed outrageous when Sarah Palin accused him of wanting to create death panels. That was him. He was the death panel guy. But it turns out, Palin might have been more right about Ezekiel's intentions than the country gave her credit for. Because Dr. Emanuel just penned an article in The Atlantic entitled, "Why I Hope to Die at 75, with the subtitle, "An Argument That Society and Families and You Will Be Better Off If Nature Takes Its Course Swiftly and Promptly." In it, Emanuel clearly outlines why he thinks everyone should have the decency to die before turning 76. He accuses Americans of being obsessed with trying to cheat death. He chastises people for exercising, for doing mental puzzles, for sticking to healthful diets, for taking supplements, as if those actions are actually evil. He says all of those death-cheating behaviors are part of a manic cultural type that he calls the American immortal, which he vehemently rejects as misguided and destructive. Destructive as in, if you spend medical and financial resources trying to extend the life of a 76-year-old, you're being destructive to society.
The wait is over. Republicans finally have a bill to repeal and replace Obamacare. I am holding it in my hand. It is a real bill. There is a lot more of Obamacare left in this bill than I think anybody expected. There is a lot more of Obamacare left in this bill than I think anybody expected. There are differences, of course, we'll get into those, but there's a lot of popular parts of Obamacare Republicans now keep. They are definitely working in an Obamacare world. Can continue on your parents' insurance until 26, that's still in there. Requiring insurers to cover pre-existing conditions, check, still in there. Preventing insurers from setting lifetime limits, check, still in there. Tax credits so people can afford healthcare, check, still in there. Covering the people on Medicaid today, it is in there. Now, I don't want to overstate this. There's a lot in the bill that changes. Huge tax cuts for rich people, for one thing. The tax subsidies, the way we help people afford insurance, that's going to be based on age, not income, and it's going to be a lot leaner. The Medicaid expansion that covers more than 10 million people now, if you read this, it stops adding new people in 2020. The reason this is difficult is that healthy people, they don't need insurance as badly. So when more sick people come on board and the prices come up, it is the healthy people who leave. Without them, the insurance gets even more expensive, which drives out the next group of healthy people, and so on until insurance is completely unaffordable. The way Obamacare tries to fix that problem is the individual mandate. Everyone has to either have insurance or they pay a small fine. The Republican plan replaces the individual mandate with a provision saying if you get sick and you need to rejoin the insurance pool, insurance companies can charge you a 30% premium. That's not going to work. Already, Obamacare's individual mandate is too weak to pull in as many healthy people as the law needed. That's why premiums have been rising in a lot of markets. This is weaker. It could lead to death spirals in a bunch of markets as healthy people flee and sick people are all that remain. And make no mistake, if they pass this bill, Republicans will own these death spirals. This plan, the Republican plan, it lets insurers offer coverage with higher copays, higher deductibles, makes it harder for people to have it, to actually use it. And then not only do they make that insurance harder to use, they make it harder to afford in the first place, particularly for the poor. Under Obamacare, the government gives subsidies to poor people to help pay their premiums. The Republican plan, it replaces these subsidies with tax breaks based on age, not income. And without the income-based subsidies, a lot of people aren't going to be able to afford insurance. The credit rating agency Standard & Poor projects between 6 and 10 million people will lose their insurance under this bill. A lot more would suddenly find the coverage they can afford has huge deductibles and doesn't actually cover that much that can go wrong. The biggest problem this bill has, the more I read it, is that it's not clear why it exists, what it's trying to achieve, what it makes better. This is Obamacare light. It's a worse version of Obamacare. And it's a lot of political pain to endure for a bill that won't just fail to improve many people's lives, but will badly hurt millions. Republicans need to really look at this and ask, what are they trying to achieve here? What is the point of all this?
We'll start with Mr. Chaikin.
Anton Chaikin. I'm a historian and the history editor for Executive Intelligence Review. President Obama has put in place a reform apparatus reviving the euthanasia of Hitler Germany in 1939 that began the genocide there. The apparatus here is to deny medical care to elderly, chronically ill, and poor people, and thus save, as the president says, $2 to $3 trillion by taking lives considered not worthy to be lived, as the Nazi doctors said. Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel and other avowed cost cutters on this panel also lead a propaganda movement for euthanasia headquartered at the Hastings Center, of which Dr. Emanuel is a fellow. They shape public opinion and the medical profession to accept a death culture such as the Washington state law passed in November to let physicians help kill patients whose medical care is now rapidly being withdrawn in the universal health disaster. Dr. Emanuel's movement for bioethics and euthanasia and this council's purpose directly continue the eugenics movement, killing of patients, and then other costly and supposedly unworthy people. Dr. Emanuel wrote last October 12th that a crisis, war, and financial collapse would get the frightened public to accept the program. A crisis, war, and financial collapse would get the frightened public to accept the program. Crisis, war, and financial collapse would get the frightened public to accept the program. Hitler told Dr. Brandt in 1935 that the euthanasia program would have to wait until the war began to get the public to go along. Dr. Emanuel wrote last year that the Hippocratic Oath should be junked. Doctors should no longer just serve the needs of the patient. Hoche and Binding, the German eugenicists, exactly said the same thing to start the killing. You on the council are drawing up the procedures list to be used to deny care, which will kill millions if it goes ahead in the present world crash.
Abiki Bar, Trump, Sarkar.
We love the Hindus. We love the Hindus. We love India. We love India.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message. Well, one in your class, you're a great student, you love the country, you want to stay here, you want to build. A case came up recently, a man from India went to a great school, good student, wanted to stay, could not get permission to stay. He started a company in India. He's got 5,000 employees now, and it's one of the hottest companies in the country. That could have been us. So we have to do, when you go through years of college, and this is something I think that a lot of people agree to, too. Who would not agree to this? Let them stay. Let them build their homes here. Let them build the businesses here. These are amazing people.
Why so many Indians succeed in America. Many people from India have immigrated to the US. They're high-profile CEOs, Pulitzer Prize-winning novelists and precocious spelling bee champions. Statistics suggest that Indians have thrived in America. They make up less than 1% of the country's population, but are estimated to have founded more than 1 in 8 Silicon Valley startups. Median income for Indian American families is $88,000, which is nearly twice the national average. 70% of Indian Americans hold a bachelor's degree or higher, compared to the national average of 30%. Why Indian Americans seek their fortunes in America? Because socialist India, with its sky-high tax rates and meddling bureaucrats, offered little opportunity. Many Indian students come to the US because they believe they will get a better education in the US. Many Indian doctors come to the US because American doctors earn much more money. Many Indian doctors come to the US because American doctors earn much more money. Many Indian doctors come to the US. Many Indian doctors come to the US because American doctors earn much more money.
People are traveling from India to all different countries all throughout the world, and they are more successful than the general population. Yes.
And it's certainly true here in the United States.
It is. So I'm going to give you a couple examples. Put up the graphic. It's Indians versus general population in the United States, just to give you an example of how much they're better in terms of education and employment. So the Indian diaspora in the U.S. is only 1%, except when it comes to graduate school population in the top universities in the United States, they make up 13% of the population.
By the way, they're not even close to 1% of the population. They're less than 1%, and they have 13%. That's a giant number of the graduate students.
In the United States, 67% of Indians have bachelor's degrees. Now compare that to 28% of the general population in the United States.
Beating you with a whooping stick.
The average household income for Indians is $90,000, whereas the average household income for the general population in the U.S. is $50,000.
That is a giant, giant difference.
What to do? You take them out of the office and hit them with a stick a couple times. They will do.
Okay. Now, look, we're giving you those numbers, one, because they're true, and it's a news story. Two, because it's not because the South Asians are a better race or anything like that. When you go to India, some of the numbers are disastrous. 40% of the population lives for $1.25 a day or less, okay?
And their life expectancy
in Mumbai is 56 years old. It's disastrous. It's obviously not genetic. It's not a race thing. It's not any of that.
सारे बच्चे रोड पे बाहर लैट्रिन का तुम्हारे बच्चे हैं इलेक्शन से पहले तो सारे लैट्रिन करने के लिए बैठ जाते हैं।
आप भी बाहर जाते हो तो कितने बजे जाते हो? ऐसे सुबह तो नहीं जा सकते आप? 4 बजे जाते हो? इतना गंद आ जाता है, बीमारियां नहीं होती आपको? होती है। क्या होता है?
ऐसे डेंगू फैल जाता है। पक्का मारता है दीदी, गर्मियों में एकदम से पेशाब बाथरूम सब निकलते हैं। हर लड़के लोग
क्या हाल हो रहा है? किधर पड़ रही है? तो लो छतरे डाल किधर पड़ रही है? आम आदमी, हम भी तो आम आदमी नहीं मिलती है। हम इंसान नहीं है क्या? प्रधानमंत्री नहीं बन सकते? हम भी तो इंसान लोग हैं। मुख्यमंत्री भगवान ने घर देखा होएगा क्या कर रही है। देखिए
620 million Indians, half of their population, defecate in public. UNICEF has to run campaigns teaching them how to use toilets. Public defecation causes bacterial infections which lead to childhood malnutrition and death. Indians shitting and pissing in the street is part of their culture. The government also has to put up signs everywhere telling them not to litter, because Indians aren't generally too fussed about cleanliness. That's why India is widely regarded as a shithole. Shitting in public, universities and other institutions are also having to teach them how to use toilets properly. Shitting in public is not acceptable. I don't care if it's part of your culture. Shitting in public is bad.
get why anyone would hate Indians in this world. We are like the hardest working minority, man. You put an Indian no matter where.
That's why we hate you. That's why we hate you.
Even Trump loved Indians. Okay, they were the only minority that Trump would try to go after. I mean, if Trump doesn't hate Indians, why would you hate Indians? Like, we are the most likable minority ever. Why would you hate Indians?
I don't womanize. I don't do any stupid thing in this country. But for Indians to come and attack me just for no reason, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. But the only thing I'm saying, if they don't want us in this country, they should let us know.
That was Endurance Ama-Awa, one of the young Nigerians recently attacked in a New Delhi suburb after a candlelight vigil turned violent. Hundreds were gathered to mourn the death of Indian student Manish Kari, who died from a suspected drug overdose. Fellow students accused Nigerians of supplying him with drugs. Endurance, his brother and a friend were spotted nearby the vigil and attacked.
Well, this is just the latest attack against Africans in India, where tens of thousands of students from the continent study. Police have made arrests and opened a probe into the attack, but the Indian government insists it was not racially motivated.
Things like this can happen. We are human beings. It can happen. But why only to Africans?
Now, African embassies are urging the United Nations Human Rights Council to investigate. Meanwhile, African students were advised to stay indoors amid heightened security in the area. Sadiq Bello is a Nigerian student in New Delhi.
Mina Wumbe is a student from Ghana and she's in Hyderabad, India right now. Also in New Delhi, Tarun Vijay is chair of the India-Africa Parliamentary Friendship Group. Hello everybody, it's good to have you here in the stream. Tarun, I want to play a video comment that Mina recorded a little while ago. I just wanted to see how you'd react to her. Have a listen to this.
Being a black, this skin, being a black doesn't make you no less of a human. We are human beings. In fact, in India here, I've seen people who are blacker than me, but they still see me and they call me black.
Interesting. Let me show you some video that caught my eye, and this was from an independent journalist piece of research. It was Vox Pops going around Delhi, and 2 years ago. I'm just wondering, Sadiq, if the attitude has changed. Have a look at this video, and then you can tell me if attitudes have changed at all.
If they're around, like, you know, you feel a little overpowered just by their presence.
हमें नहीं लगता कि हम उनके साथ मिल सकते हैं या एडजस्ट कर सकते हैं या उनके साथ में रह सकते हैं, क्योंकि हमारी थिंकिंग अलग है, उनकी सोच अलग है.
They're just into themselves only. They don't interact with other people.
वो बहुत डर लगता है जैसे कितने खौले.
I just want to put that picture up of that lady once again, because she was saying that Africans are as black as skillets, and she is blessed with melanin right there. So I am slightly confused. But anyway, I'm just thinking, that is Delhi. Sadiq, you are in Delhi. Is that are those common phrases that you hear that people talk to you about, that they react to you about? Or have things changed in the last 2 years? Are people getting more used to there being African students in Delhi? Sadiq.
Is this to me?
Yeah, Mina, you help us out because Sadiq's Skype is going in and out. Do you think Indians are getting more used to the idea of African students? Because those comments felt like you were sort of some other kind of foreigners out there. Are people more used to you being in India right now? Are you still getting comments like, they're so black?
Of course, that will never change. As long as you are black, that will never stop. I mean, we get like comments of being called Negroes. They see us as cannibals. They see us as prostitutes. They see us as drug addicts. You know, that stereotype against we Africans, it's there and it will never change. But I think more can be done to stop this. I think it's just sensitization and education, educating the people and letting them know that not all Africans are like that. In terms of drugs, I won't deny the fact that some Africans do indulge in certain activities, but that doesn't generalize all Africans as same. They generalize all Africans. That is the problem. They generalize every African as a prostitute, as a cannibal, as a drug addict. That is my problem. We want the people to accept us. You know, that's the same way we accept them back home in Africa. There are millions of Indians staying in Africa working and living peacefully. I don't think if an Indian perpetrates a crime in Africa, somewhere in Nigeria or somewhere in Kenya, Kenyans or Nigerians or Tanzanians will start attacking every Indian they see on the streets. Do you think Kenyans or Nigerians have the heart to do that? But here in India, that is what happens. If a Nigerian commits a crime or a Kenyan commits a crime, every African they see is being attacked. How do you describe that if you don't describe it as racially motivated?
There is a great future for us, and that future is only the future of togetherness. Don't make selling poison your bread and butter, and don't play victim. Trust each other. We trust you, you trust other people. There can be some bad people, but the millions and millions of Indians are very nice, decent people. That's the reason we have been here.
So Tarun, we actually got a direct comment reply to you via Twitter. This person says, why are you denying that there's a problem, no matter how big or small? Having the discussion is not spreading poison.
We are the most likable minority ever. Why would you hate Indians?